Welcome to The Front Garden, brought to you by Straight Curve Australia, leaders in precision engineered steel garden edging systems, built for speed, strength and finish.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Front Garden podcast, brought to you by Landscaping Victoria. Today's show, we have Peter Hum from Peter Christopher Gardens, and we'll be discussing the perils of starting a new business, discussing issues with products into gardens and how you may be able to identify them, and moving from graphic design into landscape design. Peter Hum, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Absolute pleasure. Well, thanks again for coming in. Going over some bits and pieces of what you've done, it's quite interesting. You've actually started with a background in graphic design, which led into the horticulture gardening side of things.
Yeah, so
how did that start?
I mean, in high school, you know, your teachers always ask you, all right, well, what are we all thinking? Like, what are we all wanting to do with, you know, our career? So, you know, you get pushed into this part of high school where you've got to choose, and you get sort of shunted to go, all right, make a decision. At the time, graphic designing was something that I was just doing as a hobby at home, just on Adobe, just having a go and having a bit of fun. And it sort of made me feel like that was my strong point from a academic point of view. You know, sporting was always something that I was good at, but, you know, it's not going to be something I can just earn money or, you know, jump into uni or TAFE with. So I just said, look, to the coordinator at the time, I said, look, graphic designing is probably something I want to do. So she sort of said, well, this is the steps you take, and finished high school and then jumped into printing and graphic arts and graphic design, and completed both those courses. But at the time I felt, you know, sitting in front of a computer all day just wasn't my thing. And on the side, just as a bit of pocket money, I was helping my brother-in-law with his gardening business. Yeah. And used to just always think, oh, I actually really like this. This is really nice, being outside in the sun and pushing a mower and picking some weeds out. And from time to time we'd be digging out a plant, and I'd ask him, you know, is this salvageable? And he'd go, yeah, absolutely. You know, you do this, and you'd be able to bring it back to life. And I thought, this is unreal. Yeah. And I said, what would it take if I just started working for you? And he goes, oh, you'd have to do an apprenticeship. And I was so bloody naive at that point. I said to him, like, what's an apprenticeship? So he just pretty much explained it all to me, and I said, I think this is kind of what I want to do. And so I sort of just kept working for him a bit longer. We sort of went into Christmas, and then the following year he signed me up to Homesglen. And then next minute I'm an apprentice working for my brother-in-law with his gardening business. And you know, when you're sitting at trade school and you're going through all the course and the planting questions, and you're thinking, like, is this actually for me? Like, we're talking about Latin names, we're talking about soil.
Yeah, the plant side of things can get pretty full on.
And you go, oh, bloody hell, like, I wasn't very smart at school. I didn't really pay much attention. But I started to actually think, well, if I apply myself, maybe we can make something of this. It was good. I really sort of found that it was something that I was very interested in, very intrigued in, especially the botanical names of the plants, and specifically soil. My dad's a diagnostic researcher for infectious diseases.
Right.
So he's got a scientific background, and wasn't something that I actually, you know, understood as a kid growing up, but I feel like that was sort of something that was sort of inherited into me to actually find as a bit of fascination. So soil, when we did go through those subjects, I paid a lot of attention in, specifically when we were talking about infectious diseases in the soil. So
you already would have had a little bit of a head start, a bit of knowledge there from your dad.
Not so much knowledge, but I could at least talk to someone that understood and could relate.
Yeah, okay.
Not on a, you know, exact basis, but at least could relate to some part of it. So it was good. And then obviously the more and more you dive into it as the years go on, you sort of get a little bit more understanding. And I think I always had that mindset was if I'm going to be doing this, let's do it right and let's go all in. So
absolutely.
I always treated, everything that I learnt as something that I need for the future. And I mean, if we're going to be going all the way, I got to be able to, show that I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, clients don't really want to talk to you if you don't really know what you're talking about.
And they'll hear that too, like especially hear, this guy doesn't really care.
Yeah, exactly right. So, there was a lot of questions as an apprentice I would get asked. And at the beginning, obviously, you don't really know how to answer those. But I always made it my mission to make sure that I was giving them information that was valuable, and it was stuff that I had learnt that I was very confident knowing that this is the solution to the problem.
Sure.
So 11 years on, working for my brother-in-law, I finished my apprenticeship with him, ended up being a team leader, managing 3 blokes in his business. And then COVID hit, and then we sort of thought, well, for me, I felt like I sort of needed to branch out and explore other options to see what I could give just as an individual in the industry. So sort of took the leap and jumped into my own sort of venture and started Peter Christopher Gardens in 2021. Started with 5 clients. I think I was sort of a bit hairy for the first week. Contacted a very old client that I had been doing on the weekends and sort of said, this is what I'm doing. He was all for it and he said, leave it with me. He had contacted all his friends. They call him Mr. Melbourne.
Right.
And then the following week, the phone just started ringing. And within that month, I think I had about 30 clients.
God, what did he do? What did he say? That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, but all I said was thank you.
Yeah.
And still to this day, I think I still look after all of those clients.
Really?
And that's jumped, obviously. I haven't actually done a count, but it's been great. Been very grateful for all the opportunities that all the clients have. Sort of.
So with going back to when you're in TAFE, was it construction or horticulture? Which apprenticeship did you do?
I did a Cert 3 in Parks and Gardens. Yeah, horticulture.
Lovely.
And valued that immensely. So the first year, applying myself, sort of not knowing that these things were available to us, but I was awarded the first year apprentice of the year that first year, and that sort of set me up as, in my mind, going, all right, I think I've actually.
You're good at this.
Yeah, I think I'm actually good at this. Like I think this is my calling. So not only was I enjoying it at work, in the workplace, it sort of made it more enjoyable being in the classroom because
you're getting the accolades, you're getting shown.
Yeah, exactly right. And, the teachers are kind of going like indirectly, you're good at this, apply yourself a bit harder and you'll go far. So after, being awarded, one of the teachers sort of smiled at me and nodded and goes like,
you deserve this.
Yeah, you deserve it. So just take it in your stride and
That must have felt really good.
It was good, yes. Because, being at school, at high school, you don't really get these opportunities because, you're in a classroom of 30 odd and, you've got however many year levels. You're sort of just a number in my eyes. But when you're in the classroom, after a while, a lot of the students sort of drop off. So you're in the classrooms, let's say of 10, it's a bit more, focused. So I find that it's great. It's definitely a great industry to jump on board with and definitely apply yourself.
So when you were with your brother-in-law and you were a team leader, what type of things? So what did your brother-in-law offer? Was he maintenance?
He was generally it was garden maintenance, but we applied a lot of soft landscaping. When we did the garden maintenance, it was more horticultural development as opposed to just pushing a lawnmower and picking some weeds.
Yeah.
So we looked after a lot of properties that were large but had a lot of specific planting pallets that needed a lot of specific planting maintenance needs. So as an apprentice, I had great one-on-one training with my boss, being my brother-in-law, because the jobs that we were doing were very meticulous, very detailed. That they required certain applications of maintenance and fertilizer and attention. So it was great for me to sort of have that one-on-one development in myself.
And do you find doing your apprenticeship with Parks and Gardens also really contributed to the way you applied it in real time? So, for example, did the knowledge you learnt in TAFE, did that coincide well with what you guys are doing?
Absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, in TAFE, they really break it up. So, obviously, you start with, they give you 30 plants a week to memorise, and you think, bloody hell, like Latin, like these Latin names, you kind of go, oh, geez, I wouldn't know.
The tongue twisters?
Yeah, I wouldn't know how to bloody remember these. But I guess the more and more you talk about it at work, the more and more you're going to remember them and you can apply them. But I bring it back to the more and more you talk to clients and say these names, the more and more you're definitely going to remember these. But, they start with the planting names and, you break it down into foliage types and bark and everything like that. And then you're jumping to soil, you're jumping into irrigation.
Yeah, good.
Touch a bit on design as well. But
that's
definitely
great.
it was. I definitely found that it was something that I could apply myself at the workplace from trade school every time.
That's really good that they're actually getting quite broad in the apprenticeship. So obviously soil, plants through to the irrigation, which is all important.
Yeah, I definitely think it's probably gotten better over time. I mean, back then that was 2012. So I'm sure that they're always on the up with improvements, but definitely back then I found that it was great. I definitely gained a lot in those 3 years. And was able to apply myself. And then after that qualification, I was able to feel qualified. I didn't feel sort of unfinished that, I didn't know enough. But in saying that, every year, every day, you got to feel like you always need a bit of room for improvement. And you always got to leave a bit of room for learning new things and keeping up with the Joneses and just, not feeling complacent, I think.
Exactly. And it's important to not be too hard on yourself as well. If you do make the mistakes, understanding, that happened.
Well,
learn
that's
from
right.
it and try to move through. Even though sometimes it can get the better of you.
That's right. That's right.
So that all obviously inspired you to start Peter Christopher Gardens. What inspired the name?
So obviously it's pretty, I guess, known. My name's Peter, but my dad and myself, we share the same name but in reverse. So he's Christopher Peter. I'm Peter Christopher.
Okay. Yeah.
And I thought I need a name that's going to flow and that feels nice to actually say. I didn't actually give myself too many names as options. I sort of just kept it to myself and would just say them when no one's around out loud and go, this sounds all right. This one sounds a bit crap. But this one just sort of stuck with me because it was... I'm a big family man, so this one actually means a lot to actually have as a name as opposed to... Right,
apologies, because obviously it's Peter Hum, but Peter Christopher Gardens, that's why I was asking.
That's right, yeah. So I come from a Chinese and German background, but my dad's Chinese, so obviously I wasn't going to add that last name in, but my middle name's Christopher, so it seemed like it was the right fit for the business name. So,
have you delved into your heritage of the Chinese type of plants and gardens to bring that through?
Not so much Chinese, but I'm a major fan of Japanese inspired gardens. I love Japan. Been there 4 times, and I'm always in awe of all their gardens, and always coming back home from overseas, going, we need to incorporate this in Melbourne. And
what do you think it is over there? What's the difference?
It's just the cleanliness. It's just the attention to detail. It's the 1%ers that I think that we do, but we need more of. And I think something that I've always wanted to make sure that I can incorporate into my business is making sure that we do those 1%ers every time, because in Japan, that's exactly what they do.
So what do you guys offer?
So our business model is that we design gardens, we'll build them, and then we'll maintain them. That's not just our business model. We'll take on gardens just for the garden maintenance. We'll take them on just for the build, or we'll just offer just a design. But obviously, the one-stop package that I love is the fact that I come from a design background. I love the fact that I can apply what I've learned in the horticultural industry and from my graphic design background to create gardens on paper for the client to give them a confidence of visualization that they can put into reality. So I definitely like that. And then with the build as such, we'll take on the soft landscaping components, but we've got a major network of hardscapers and builders and chippies and stuff that will sort of on-pass all those because, I've sort of learnt the hard way that, you can't do everything.
Yep.
And you've got to sort of stick to your expertise. And so I've sort of, instead of just going, no, we don't touch that, go find someone else, I've sort of gone, well, I think we just need to bring all our friends together and make sure that this project comes to life the way that it should. And so building a huge network of contacts has been great and something that I actually love because
brilliant.
You can just call these guys up and everyone's happy to help. Everyone's wanting to help because they've seen the designs, they've seen, the maintenance, the finished product, and they want to be a part of that. So it's nice to, be able to incorporate all three without having sort of, road stops.
And it's good that you actually recognise where your strength is as well.
Exactly
and
right.
not thinking, sure, I'll just do the whole thing on my own, even though maybe we've all tried it at the start.
I mean, like your first year in business, you always go...
Oh, you say yes to everything.
Yeah, you say yes to everything and you kind of... You think that you're a jack of all trades, master of none, but it's business and I'm earning money. So, but that's not really how it all works. And you only learn that as business goes on, I guess. And I've only been in business now for 5 years and there's still a bucket load I need to still learn.
Oh, it'll never stop.
And grow, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but your first year, you definitely find that there's a lot of things that you do that you would never do moving forward now.
Landscapers, designers, architects, listen up. Straight Curve Steel Garden Edging installs up to 3 times faster than traditional systems. No drilling, no tech screws, just a clean, sharp finish. And right now, the first 10 Front Garden listeners to get in touch will score a free 7-metre Click Connect box. Email the word edging to connect@straightcurve.com.au with PRO in the subject line, plus your business name, address and phone number. First in, best dressed. Get your hands on a serious edging system today.
What are some of the biggest challenges you felt in the last 5 years with starting and maintaining a business?
I mean, definitely probably opening your mouth up too much to clients saying that you can, do this, but really you're like, oh, I'll work that part out later. But then it comes to it and you go, can't actually do that. Obviously underquoting, but this all comes with, learning in business. But there's been a few things that you kind of just do and you kind of have to just try work it out as you go.
With the quoting side of things, obviously at the moment, the market, there's a bit of fear floating around.
Absolutely.
How have you felt clients are reacting to quotes that you're submitting?
Well, you're not really, I guess, a good business if you're 100% strike rate. But we're definitely not winning as many as we would like. Let's just say the ones that we're winning are great, but then the ones that we thought we were going to be winning, they're only, say, doing a third or half of that project because, of what's happening in the economy. So we've just got to take a bit of a shift and just work with that situation because it's not because of us, it's just because, everyone has to obviously adapt.
Yeah, so it's a matter about in your opinion, educating the client is just saying, this is the quote, but I could be open with you to break it down if we need.
Yep.
We can do it in stages. I'll work with you.
So a lot of our quotes are already comprehensively broken down.
Yep.
And I do stage them because it sort of helps me actually. Once we win the quote, I can sort of just go, all right, well, stage one is, this, and stage two is this. And I've always sort of voiced to them that these are all the stages. If you don't like stage one and then stage two, if you want to jump straight to stage 4, provided that it's obviously going to work, if you want to say start in the alfresco area doing all the paving, we can do that, and then maybe we can readdress the front garden at a later date.
I think, as you said, making sure it works is the key, isn't it? Because you don't want to, if they say we want to do all of our lawn and then we want to get you in a few weeks later to do the paving behind the lawn, we'll destroy it. So obviously...
So I do explain this all to them, and we do a fair few sort of site visits to make them aware that this is all going to work and make them feel comfortable and make them understand where their money's actually going. So I do pride myself on making sure that whatever quote we do produce, they do know where their money's going.
Yeah.
But we're sort of shifting a lot more in this year, wanting to up our game with our 3 things that we do in our business. In particular is our design. So we've gone from, the past 5 years of just doing, mud map sketching and detailed email descriptive designs to now more sort of digital design, landscape plans. So we've taken from just a very basic design to, I guess, the masterpiece.
A bit more comprehensive.
Yeah. So we've got a guy that works with us in the company, and Harry's been around for, I think, 6 or 7 months now, and he's got an architecture background. So he's sort of jumped on as, our designer, and he helps us sort of put everything together. So it becomes from this chaotic mess that I've always thought it was to this masterpiece. So
how have you found having an architect blend into the garden design? Because I've heard that a little bit recently.
It's been great because he's always been intrigued in wanting to learn more about the garden. And so he's jumped on for the past 6-7 months doing the garden maintenance with us, doing our soft landscape installs. And he's always forever asking questions because it does apply to him, with his design. So, it's been great. I think it's definitely a level up from what we're used to.
Help you as well, take the pressure off you.
Exactly right.
So you can focus on other aspects.
Yeah. So I'll do the initial design, mud map it out, but not as chaotic as what it used to be, and just give it to him, and he'll come back with a 4 or 5 page design with a planting schedule. And so it's been great.
So speaking of the team, you've got your in-house designer, is that right? So
Yes.
what does your team look like?
So we've got a team of 5 at the moment. We've got 2 guys running around with the maintenance with myself.
Yeah.
And then we've got Harry that sort of is a bit of an all-rounder, does the design, the maintenance, the installs with myself. And then we've got a whole bunch of subbies that we'll call on for all our hardscaping and sort of carpentry needs.
And you find that works well?
It works well because, I'm not in a position right now that I feel like I want to have, everyone on board as full-timers running around doing all these jobs. It's not sort of where we're at right now, but...
Well, in my opinion, I think it's smart because of what we were saying before with the economy and all this, and just the expense of having staff.
That's the thing, is the uncertainty. So obviously, I don't want to do that to the boys as well. Don't want to give them the world that might not be there.
Yeah.
So the business model right now works, and I feel comfortable, and I think that's the main thing, is making sure that as a business owner, you can feel comfortable and facilitate that. So.
That's great. So do you guys have an office or warehouse shed? How does the operation set up?
So not yet. I always think we're still growing.
Yep.
I try not to take too big steps in business. I try to just baby steps at a time so nothing goes wrong. But it is on the horizon. I do wish one day that, we can get to that point. So it does motivate me to keep going pretty strong.
So your team, obviously, is it Harry who does the designs as well?
Yes.
Does he work remotely from home and you guys will...
Yeah, so he'll work remotely from home, doing the actual design, but he's always coming into site to help us out. So it's good to touch base if we need to then. But yeah, it's remotely for him.
And with the design work that's coming through, is that something that just you'll go out on the consults, or will you bring Harry as well? So
originally I was just doing the consults myself, but yeah, I have started bringing Harry on as well to be that shadow. And then initially it was just going to be me doing all the talking and he just sort of take notes. But there is that potential that we can start making that shift where he'll sort of start taking over, because I've always sort of explained that, you know, every designer has their sort of their taste on things. So I think we can definitely have our sort of palette that we can apply our designs for. And so I try to tell the client that, you know, this is sort of our sort of palette. This is what we sort of go for. But at the end of the day, if the client wants X, Y, Z, we always try to make that come to fruition.
So that was what was just on my mind, is how do you guys balance the creativity side of maybe what the client wants versus what can actually happen because of the site? Yeah,
so I mean, practicality always has to come before the client's needs, because, you know, we're playing with not just a few dollars for some of these designs, and we need to obviously make sure that these designs do work. So we always definitely look at practicality, and if you know, they want full sun, you know, trees in a very shady, you know, canopy tree suburb, we're not going to advise that this is going to be, you know, all happy days.
Yeah.
So we sort of do flag it pretty early in the consult that these things aren't going to work. Try sort of massage out all the problematic things and sort of get a vibe and work out if these are going to actually cause issues, because it could be a make it or break it after those meetings. At the end of the day, it's just, it needs to work.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, well, this is our business name on the line as well. So we're going to look like the fools that went along with the flow, because the client that may not know what they're talking about wants this, and we're just going along with the flow just because it's a job.
So will you politely decline something you're not comfortable with?
We'll try steer them into the right direction, and if we don't get that from the client, we'll politely decline and we'll move on. But hasn't happened. Usually they're happy to work with us, because we do try form that trust pretty quick, even at the start of the consult.
Yeah.
You know, they've all called me because of what they've seen on previous jobs. So usually that's how a lot of our work has come. So it's usually from either another client's, you know, referred us, or they've seen a finished product of something that we've done and gone, I want that.
Well, it looks like you've been getting the accolades for it. Like, obviously you were awarded the Nick Van Diemen Award, which is wonderful to get. So what do you think it was that led you into getting that award? Was it a project in particular?
Yeah, so there was a job that I was maintaining in Hawthorne every Friday, and it was just myself at that point. That was my first year of business. I was just doing this job as a Friday, and I just kept getting these text messages, calls and emails from this one particular client, but I was so under the pump. I just didn't have the time to get back to this person. And then there was just this one Friday, she just gave me one last call, and I just answered, and I realized it was her, and I said, I'm so sorry. I've just been so under the pump. And she said, that's fine. She's like, I drive past you every Friday morning when I drop my son to school, and I just want to say I love your business name, because I've got an uncle named Peter and a cousin named Chris, and I just love seeing that, you know, every Friday morning.
How cool.
Yeah, so I thought, thank you. And I thought, she's just calling me for a bit of a chat. And then she said, like, the reason I'm calling you is because I've got an issue in my garden. I would love for you to see it. And I was hoping that you could maybe fix it. I mean, she didn't know me from a bar of soap, and I didn't really know where she was talking. And anyway, I said, yeah, that's fine. Just flick me a text with the address and I'll get to you at the end of the day. I'll drop in for a site visit. And sent me the address, and I looked at the address and I thought, oh, bloody hell. Like, I know this street. I said, as an apprentice, I actually installed the property next door to it, and I actually watched this property get built from the ground up. So even when it was finished, I always said to my brother-in-law, you know, it would be amazing if we could maintain this garden. This is amazing, incredible. So anyway, I quickly sort of packed up and made my way over to the address, and I rocked up and I thought, oh, bloody hell, she wasn't wrong. There was
a bit to do.
There was a bit to do, and there was a fair bit wrong. So I just got her just to walk me through the garden, and I just shut my mouth and just let her talk, and she just pointed out all the things that she was unhappy with, and she said, well, what do you think? And I said, well, I can tell you right now, I said, I don't even need to do a soil test right this second. I don't need to do any testing, but I can tell you right now, you've got Phytophthora in the ground.
How did you know that?
So the only reason I felt confident in saying that was because before COVID, there was a bad batch of tip green waste that got processed through a company.
Right.
Not sure if we're supposed to say the company, but it got processed, had large amounts of herbicide traces through it that didn't get cooked out.
Ooh.
And then that mulch was shipped out, obviously, to garden supply centres. And then we, as gardeners and landscapers, were purchasing it and applying it to the garden as if, it was great stuff.
Yeah.
So, after applying it, everyone's watering it in and didn't realise that we're actually watering in all the chemical back into the ground. And the only way to tell without doing any testing was you'd look at the foliage and you'd get leaf distortion.
Right.
So that leaf distortion was a clear indicator that there was something wrong. Then the second indicator was you only had to use 2 fingers to pull a plant out because the roots had already started rotting.
Oh,
so,
boy.
Phytophthora is made up of a water mold in the ground. So it's literally just...
It was a mulch you were saying you applied, so it was something to do with the process of creating that mulch.
Correct.
Did not kill off the herbicides.
No. So obviously, from what we were told through sources, that it wasn't cooked long enough.
Okay.
So it's supposed to sit for a certain amount of time and cook, and I guess that heat.
As in bake off in the sun?
Yeah,
sort of thing,
it's sort of it's like when arborists process mulch, they have to let it sit for a certain amount of time before they can apply it, because you'll get that nitrogen drawdown otherwise.
Yeah.
So it was something that I experienced when I still worked for my brother-in-law, and unfortunately, as a business owner, was copping all this sort of stress from clients going, well, why is my garden dying? You've just mulched the garden, and sort of we're looking like idiots because we'd never experienced this before.
So this was happening over a period of years?
Yeah,
so
this was a period of 2 years. I mean, from initially happening to rectification works. So it was a 2-year period, but my brother-in-law was going back to the supplier, going, the mulch is causing problems, and they were sort of in denial, and so we ended up getting soil testing, and it was coming back with traces of herbicide, and the soil was the testing for the soil was coming back with Phytophthora and Pythium.
Wow, it's great that you had the experience to know.
Yeah, exactly right.
The knowledge, sorry.
Yeah, so we did sort of extensive testing. Initially, this is before I started my business, so I was already sort of a little bit knowledgeable. I didn't actually have full hands on the whole process because I was still an employee at the time, and Nick was sort of taking on that process.
Yep.
And that stress. But we were just doing the legwork to try fix it.
Okay.
But anyway, the suppliers traced it back to the actual processes, and we sort of got an answer eventually. And then from there, through the business, we were able to do an insurance claim on all this.
Oh, great.
So all these clients' gardens actually got fixed.
Yeah.
That we didn't just disappear, but they all got fixed. And even when I think the year that I started my business, Nick was still fixing gardens because we weren't going to just disappear. It needed to be fixed because this wasn't our problem. Well, it wasn't our fault, but it was our problem. We needed to fix it. So
so that was part of that Hawthorne project you were saying that led you to the Nick Van Diemen Award.
Bit of a long-winded.
Oh, that was, but it's a good segue off because it was interesting. Yeah,
but after telling her, this is what you've got, she said, "Oh, okay. Well, how do we fix it?" And I said, "Well, I've got to do a bit of a walkthrough because I've got to work out if it actually is. I need to warrant, what I've just told you, but we need to do soil testing and." It wasn't a small garden. I think the garden itself was like 2,000 square meters, something like that.
Gee.
So we had to take tests from, there was about 10 different garden beds and send it off to the lab. So that was our first step. Our second step was quoting to do a removal of the whole entire garden by hand.
Yep.
Because we couldn't get any machinery in because they'd had all this amazing paving done and the load wasn't going to be able to handle it. So that was pretty extensive. That was every Friday. We produced a quote for the demo to do it all by hand every Friday until it was complete, thinking that, again, this was where it comes into underquoting. I thought it was only going to take about 20K to do it. Well, that 20K dried up very, very quick. And I looked at her and I said, look, this is where we're at. And she said, don't worry, just keep going. She goes, don't worry about quoting anymore. Just fix the garden.
Do in charge.
Yeah. So that took a lot of stress off me and I just sort of went into tunnel vision and just...
You could really be creative and explore options because the budget was there now.
Exactly right. So I thought, well, there is no budget. just go for it. But that wasn't sort of my mindset. I was still very, very conscious of making sure that we didn't expend on certain things. So we made sure that we did a lot of protection of asset through the whole property, through the whole process, because I couldn't afford as a young business owner that anything would go wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, 90 cube of soil came out by hand. And
that's a lot of soil for anyone who isn't sure. That's a lot of soil.
The skip companies definitely loved me.
Made some money off you?
Yes, definitely. But prior to that, the main thing that I did miss out, there was the soil did get drenched in a fungicide and got neutralised. So before we removed it, we did actually get the soil treated before we removed it. So it wasn't going away as contaminated soil. It was going away as this, neutralised soil.
All these things that you're doing in this garden are leading into you evidently coming out with something that's going to contribute to a pretty coal award there, wasn't it? Which sounds like quite the process.
Yeah, so I didn't actually have any intention of silly, but I didn't want to join Landscape Victoria. I didn't want to apply for any awards. I just wanted to make sure that I was putting enough money in the account to provide for my family because I'd just taken a massive gamble starting a business. So having this opportunity was never something that I thought would ever come my way. 4 years on of building this garden every Friday from the ground up again was definitely an experience and definitely was my heart and soul in it. And everything that we did in terms of planting, soil, fertilizing, all had a specific purpose in that garden. Yeah. And the client absolutely loves the garden because every sort of Friday or every sort of second Friday we'd have a good walkthrough and a chat with a coffee, and I'd always make sure that if she sort of made a comment about something that she'd wanted, never told her that we'd do it, but I always kept it in the back of my mind because the initial plan and outcome for the original garden wasn't what she had hoped for from the beginning. So I didn't want that to be happening again. So I wanted to make sure that she got given the garden that she wanted, again, provided that it was going to work, but it was so open, everything in my eyes was going to work.
Wonderful.
So But yeah, we got it to a point where it definitely was picturesque, and I thought I need to join Landscape Victoria now because I feel like I'm feeling confident enough to feel like I'm worth it in the industry now.
Well, it's good that happened, that there was a project that helped you realise that, even though it was already there.
Yeah.
But all this stuff that led into something like that.
Exactly right. So then once I joined, I think I was signing up an apprentice at the time, and Rob Stewart rocked up to...
Good old Rob.
Yeah, Rob rocked up to the job, and he looked at it and he goes, bloody hell, this is amazing.
Yeah.
He goes, are you going to put in for an award?
Yeah.
I said, no, I'm just looking after the garden now. Like, I think it's at a point where it's finished. And he goes, no, you've got to put it in for an award. This deserves an award. And I said, nah, I don't think so. Like, I mean, I would think that it deserves an award, but to the industry, I don't know.
Well, the industry obviously did.
And so once I put in for, I went in for two. I went in for the residential maintenance, and then I went in for the emerging talent. And I thought, well, hope I get at least one of them. That would be nice. And I think it was more a mind game. I was always sort of thinking, well, I'm not good enough, but we'll give it a go. And I'm glad I did, because I think ever since winning the award, it's given me a lot of strength and confidence to not only just keep going, but to level up. I think, from just, running as a business to now I want to run as a nice, sophisticated company, and always try to, I guess.
Sometimes that's all it is that one thing that happens, and a bit of a light bulb moment of an award to make you think, oh, all the hard work I've done.
Exactly right.
Is now has paid off to that degree. And that's really good to see. And it shows in your gardens, Peter, like they're wonderful with what they do.
Yeah.
I think that there's probably a lot to come from you, mate, to be honest, in the years.
I think there's a lot I've been holding back on just because my mind, I think, is stronger than my actions. But I always sort of think, I'm not there yet. But I think in life you've just got to
persevere,
keep going, give it a go. Yep. Obviously, stay in your lane, but don't think that you're not good enough, because I think everyone at some point in their life will think that, and they'll always have the regret.
I think the big thing, keep nice and humble too.
Then that's right.
So,
I mean, that's always in the forefront of my mind is always stay humble and. Yeah.
Well, look, you can tell by the way you speak about it with the quality that you deliver. When the way you portray it is fantastic, Peter. So, mate, thank you very much for coming in today in the front garden. It's been great having you, and all the best in the future.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And that's a wrap for this episode of the Front Garden Podcast. If you enjoyed this one, please don't forget to share it on your social media platforms. Today's chat was fantastic, and we really hope you got a lot out of it. So as always, we look forward to catching you next time on the Front Garden.